Welcome! You're listening to My Magical Horse, the podcast, where we are getting curious about animal communication. I am your host, Jordan Banks, and if you are desiring a more magical connection with your own horse, you are in the right place. Join us as we rediscover our sense of wonder, experience the joy, and feel the magic that horses bring to our lives each and every day. We are so excited to have you here. Thank you for spending your time with us. Now let's get started. Welcome back to My Magical Horse, the podcast. Today I have Nica Quinn, and Nica is, you may have heard of her. She has a business called Nica Draws Nature. And I'm so excited because we just did a little collaborative project together, her Dear Equestrians Collective Coloring Book. And we'll get into that more a little bit later, but I just wanted to welcome you, Nica. Thanks for coming to chat with me today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited because this is me getting to talk about our coloring book for the first time really publicly. And yeah, that makes me very excited.
Yeah, and it's super timely and exciting for me too because the way it involved me becoming a part of this project, I found you, I don't know, a number of years ago, and it was kind of funny because I felt like people like knew who you were, but I didn't know who you were. And it's like, yeah, and Nica draws nature. I'm like, okay, but okay, cool. I'm gonna start following her. Okay. And you were doing at the time those portraits. What were you calling those portraits?
That
Do you
was
remember?
the whole self portrait. That
The
was,
whole self-portrait.
yeah,
And
they
I
were
really
very
wanted to do
cool.
one. I wanted
One
to do
day they're
one.
coming back.
Well, this is kind of leading into the whole coloring book
Yeah.
project. So yeah, I wanted to do one of those, and but I didn't have the money to do it, because also starving artist over here. And I'm like, it was kind of like on my little bucket list of, when I have some extra money, I'm gonna have Nica do a portrait. And then also though, I was looking at your portraits and I was thinking, I don't even know what I'm doing with my life. Like, maybe she'll do the portrait and then she'll help me figure out what I'm doing. Like, what is my purpose? Because at the time I was just like, I don't know. What am I doing, right? And I'm
And
a
that was
little,
what, maybe like 2021, 22? That
yeah,
would
it
have been
was
around.
probably during after the whole COVID thing, or was that when you were doing them? Does that sound like the right
Hmm.
timing?
Yeah.
Yeah, so then I kept kind of thinking, well, maybe I should wait until I kind of have a better idea of what I'm doing before I have her do one. And then you moved to Scotland and you said you weren't going to be doing the portraits anymore. And I was like, oh, damn, I guess I missed my chance. So tell me actually, why did you move to Scotland? Like was that kind of like in the works, or how did you pick Scotland, or what did that look like?
Well, I met my husband in New Zealand almost 10 years ago now, and
Okay.
he's Scottish. He's from Scotland. So
Oh,
we always thought that we would live in the States, to be honest. Like all of our years that we were traveling back and forth, like total long distance relationship for 7 years. Um, we always thought that we would be living in the States and that we would have to do the visa process for that and all of that. And then our best friends went through that process and it was not pretty. And it was very
oh,
difficult. And honestly, the state of the US was like freaking us out a bit. So we were like, we actually, what was it? We traveled to Ireland for the summer and we were just like, wow, Scotland's better than Ireland. Like jokingly, we were just like, wow, I like Scotland so much better. And then we're like, wait, Scotland's pretty amazing, actually. And then we sat down with the pros and cons list. And
oh, wow.
the cons for America were quite extensive. And for Scotland, it was pretty much just rain and midges, which are like really tiny, horrible bugs that actually ruin your life. Like they are not a
Oh,
joke. But
geez. Mm.
if I those two things were the worst things, which as an outdoors person, they're pretty horrible. But as like a person living in a human society, Scotland felt safer and better in
Wow.
many
And
ways.
he's from Scotland, so that was
Mhm.
an
So
easy.
it was just a matter of me marrying him and getting a visa.
Oh, wow. I was always like, why did she move to Scotland? Anyway, that's pretty cool. And you're a pretty adventure seeking kind of person. I think I heard on that one podcast you did a lot of traveling prior to this, and you said that's how you met him, was in New
Hmm.
Zealand. That's really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
Okay, so got
it's been a long journey.
yeah. So how long actually have you been in Scotland now?
Officially 3 years, but
Wow.
unofficially uh, longer,
Oh,
just like
okay.
back and
Yeah.
forth. So,
Official.
yeah.
Yeah. Wow, 3 years. Okay. So, yeah, so it was probably 3 years ago, and I was like, oh, guess I can't do the portrait now. And then, of course, I kept following you, and it's so funny how these circles overlap, and certain people just keep showing up in my circle. And as we were mentioning, well, you had come out with that first book, or you were a part of that first collective book. What was the name of that book?
Unlocking the wisdom of horses within you.
Yes. And so then I'm a part of Amber and Shaylee's Tea House, and they had you on as a guest, and I showed up to that call. And, and we are like, oh, hi, because somehow we had chatted prior to that, maybe because of me just inquiring about portraits, I don't remember. But so that feels like eons ago now. And then I was just an observer of that interview, but listened to you guys chatting, and then ironically, I just had Elsie Kenna on, and she was in that book too. She and
Yes.
I were chatting, and I was sitting here. I'm like, you know what? I have that book. I didn't tell her while we were doing the podcast interview, but I'm like, I do have that book that she was also a part of.
Well, and this is this beautiful small world in horse community that we're in is that okay, so, Elsie, I met her through that book project, but
Oh,
Elsie also works with Alexa Linton, who was like a mentor to me at the beginning,
oh
who
wow.
I recently was just on a podcast with, who I met so many other people through. Like, I
Right?
love all the connections. It is so incredible, and it makes it feel like we're not alone in this. It's like there really is a community of people. It's
So
just
true.
that we're all spread out.
Yeah, no, that's so true. And that's part of, why I actually started this podcast, because what I realized is I've been finding myself in this circle of people who believe in animal communication and are kind of on this shift of how we interact with horses, and yeah, and all the confusion that comes along with that when you realize you don't know what you're doing anymore. But but oh, I listened to a podcast with Kate Nelligan on the Warwick Schiller's Journey On, which I realized you were on that too, but I hadn't listened to your episode. But then after I listened to her, then I realized that you had done an Oracle deck, which I actually have right here, the Awakenings. Oops, I don't know, my Awakenings with Equine, for that you and Kate had done together. And then you came out with the book, which you called Dear Equestrians also, right? Dear
Mhm.
Equestrians. And I have that book too. I'm kind of one of those people where I'm like, if I know it's something that I'm interested in, I'll just buy it, even if I haven't even had a chance to look at it yet, because I'm like, at some point I'm going to sit down and I'm going to be able to look at all these things. My life is just feels like it's in warp speed or something right now. But oh, I know what I was saying. Gosh, man, train of thought. The whole reason I started the podcast was because I'm finding myself in this circle of all these people that believe in the same thing. And then I was chatting with a colleague, and I won't mention names, but was somebody who I really thought would believe in animal communication and what she does. And I thought, I just started talking to her like it was normal, and she looked at me like I had things growing on my ears, and she goes, "You believe in that?" And I looked at her and I was like, "You don't?" And it really hit me. This is where I was going with this. It really hit me that I have been so surrounded by people who share the same mindset as me that I forgot how many people still aren't there yet. And so then I was doing a class with Felicity, who I also kind of met because of the same circles overlapping. And I was in her frequency class and she had brought up podcasts. And the funny thing was that I have a background, you wouldn't know it today, in broadcasting. I have a background in broadcasting, and she's talking about podcasts, and I was like, nah, never doing a podcast. Like, what would I even talk about? Like, I'm thinking, and I don't want to like just I don't want to do what everybody else is doing or do the same thing other people are doing, or I don't really even know. And then literally like a couple of days later, I had the idea for this podcast just basically to plant a seed and educate people that communication is in fact real. And maybe they might be on the borderline of not sure if they believe in it, because I was on that little cusp for quite a while. But then to start share stories with real people and real professionals, not just animal communicators, but other professionals in the industry who do believe in it and share these real life experiences to help people see that this is in fact real. Like this is real. And it's just taking us maybe some time to give ourselves permission to believe that it's real, and that is also something I want to talk with you about as we go on this little conversation today, is your own experience with animals and communication and all of that good stuff. And also why I'm so excited to have you here.
It's so amazing that one, that people don't believe in animal communication. It's amazing to me that like we communicate with animals all the time and like people cannot fathom that there's something beyond that.
Yeah.
Um, like beyond the physical.
Yeah.
But it also just makes so much sense. So I love that you have this podcast that you can share those stories. Actually, it's the stories that bring us closer to that truth. It's stories, not facts, not anything. Like it's either embodied experience or, you know, hearing somebody else's experience that you can then start to believe something. And
Or
I
start
think
to even
that's
see it like happening in your own
mhm,
life and be like, oh, wait, I've had that too, or I didn't really look at it as that, or I didn't realize if I embrace this, more could come from that, just opening the door, kind of, so to speak, you know.
mhm.
So on that note, what is your relationship with animal communication? Like, do you and we can dive as deep as you want to go into this because I want to talk about all the things, and your art is very I feel like it's very intuitively led artwork, and I'm curious. A lot of times these podcasts just turn out into what I'm curious about. I'm curious kind of what your process is. Like, do you think of yourself as an animal communicator, or like what kind of role does it play in the drawings that you do? Do you want to kind of just wherever you want to start on that, and then I'll just ask you more questions as we go.
This is an amazing question because I don't quote unquote see myself as an animal communicator. And at the same time, I fully believe in when I step into a drawing where I am working with an animal and their person, that I'm an open channel for whatever comes through. So,
Hmm.
yes, I would say that in a way it is communication, but I'm not relaying anything usually. It is coming through visually, and it's usually no, sometimes it is very specific, but I oftentimes I don't even think about it. Well, I don't. That's how it comes through. It's just like when I'm in a drawing, it's like I start the drawing and then the drawing's finished and I look at it, I'm like, whoa, that was cool. And then I go through and I will often, well, I'll always send a little note along with the portrait to somebody because that's when I find the meaning. So I actually
Mm.
don't know any of the meanings when I'm drawing it usually. And then I'll sit down and I'll start writing and again open that channel for anything to come through. And I mean, sometimes it's, just sharing some of the stuff that like the process or why I thought a certain way or what I took out or added in at the last minute. But I'm very open about that process because I think it also validates to me, like if I take anything out or if I add anything in at the last minute, it's like this. little validation when somebody says, "Oh, that makes sense why you did that."
Interesting. Huh.
And but yeah, I would say that like back in 2020 when I started this online business of art,
Hmm.
I fell into it. Um, I just thought I was just drawing portraits, and then I would write little messages on them, or I would color something a certain way, or I'd add a little symbol or something, and somebody would then respond like, "How did you know my favorite flower was a petunia?" I don't know. Like, so I started realizing that I was like getting nudges from something beyond me. And this is before, I mean, I'd already been in the world of like energy work and animal communication to an extent, but I was still quite new at embodying it and doing it myself. So this
So you
really,
didn't see yourself as that, but yet here you really were doing it.
yeah. And I still feel like kind of the same, but it's almost like I trust my art so much, or I trust that process
Hmm.
so much that that's how I have to do. Like, I don't think that I could sit, well, I could try. I would, if I practice, anybody can be an animal communicator,
Yeah.
of course. But I just feel like it's such a different route for me to go using the visuals because I can. And it's like, it's so unique and it's
And
very cool.
your art is, so I'm an artist too, but my art's very different than your art. And your art, like, there's so much in it. Like, there's so those things, like, when you were doing those portraits, were some of those things were, like you said, you might put a petunia in and you didn't know, but were some of those things that people asked to put in there, or were all those other things stuff that just came to you?
So, specifically for this coloring book, I definitely ask people for specific imagery or symbols or anything that, means something to them
Hmm.
because I like having something to pull from in case because not always, like, I'll be completely honest, there's not always a super open flowing channel. Like some
Yeah.
drawings are not as easy.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I made it seem like every single one's like that. It's not always like that. And
Okay.
sometimes I do need those prompts to kind of like, get me into it. So when I ask people for specific symbolism, it's not that I'll always use everything, but
Mm.
that it's almost like a selection of things that I can work with and then build after that. And it's so interesting talking about this process because it comes so naturally that I almost like I'm struggling to like really understand it myself sometimes. Like I struggle to articulate
Yeah.
it because it's just something that happens, which is
Yeah.
probably the same for many people in the work of like animal communication or energy work or anything. It's like once you're doing it all the time and you're so used to it, you actually don't think about it. And it's like almost like, wait, how does this work?
Well, and you get into that state of flow. So like you're saying you're working on a drawing, then all of a sudden it's done. And yeah, I just wanted to say like I do portraits of horses that are like realism type stuff. And I just finished two portraits. And these portraits, it really like I put off doing them for a long time because I just had too many things going on in my life that I couldn't get into the mental space that I needed to be to do it. And I was really afraid that I was going to wreck what I'd already started if I got into it and I wasn't in the right headspace, which is really a thing. And what happened, so I finally was able to like double down and like I knew I had this deadline and I had to get it done. But it's so funny. I have like a little almost like a ritual and I was trying to like change my ritual because my ritual includes eating a bunch of shit food and like sugar and like Red Bull and like I mean, I don't know. I think I just jacked myself up on sugar or something. And I was trying not to do that because I was trying to be like healthier. And I couldn't get into it, Nika. I couldn't get into it. So then finally I'm like, shit, man, I am like on a deadline. So I'm just gonna go back to what I know works. I went and bought Red Bull, Sour Patch Kids. I ate a steak. I ate ice cream. I ate so many calories that I thought, dang, maybe I need calories to be creative. Maybe being creative,
Creating
but
calories.
Because I got it done, but I ate so I don't even want to tell you how many calories I must have ate. The Sour Patch Kids alone, I looked at the bag and I'm like, that was like 1,000 calories just of Sour Patch Kids that I ate that night, plus
Oh my
everything
God.
else. But I got it done. But what I wanted to say is I get it done and I get so into it. So when I finally can get lost in the flow of it, that's what I'm always after. I want to get into the flow where I'm not thinking about taking another break or whatever I'm doing. But in my work, I get so into looking at lights and darks because I'm replicating, and you've probably done this kind of work in the past. And then afterwards, I look at it and it takes like a couple days even for me to actually see what I've created because I'm still so honed in on just these lights and darks and then people will look at it and they're like, "How'd you do that?" And I'm like, "I don't know." I'm like,
Hmm.
and then it really hit me after this last project. I'm like, it's not, I don't think it is me. I think it's God flowing through me that's creating this art, but with the caveat that my role in it is that I have to get to that clear headspace, to that place where I can be the channel to let it come through me. Because if I can't get there, that I can't make that. Like I can't create that.
100%. 100%. It will
So,
always be everything that is created in flow feels different. It looks different. It has a different energy behind it because it was created in that open channel, in that in that flow state, which is
it's
that is what we
beautiful.
we strive for. Like if we can be in a flow state once a day in a creative
Mhm.
process, even if it's just 20 minutes, that literally can change your life
That's a good
because
point.
there is numerous studies out there. Like I'm actually reading a book right now called Your Brain on Art,
Oh,
and it's like the
sounds good.
neuroscience behind why create like the creative process is not even being in creation, but seeing art,
Oh,
observing art, witnessing art, hearing art, like whatever it is, like art is a part of us and we need it. And
uh,
it's like giving me so many facts that I can't even sustain. I can't get in a flow of reading it because it's a lot of heavy reading, but it's
yeah.
really and just for me right now because I'm not in that state. But what it proved to me is that we need this now more than ever. We need creative process. We need to be in flow. And I actually just did a piece on this tonight, but it's that we have to create over consume because
Hmm.
the opposite of creation is destruction, right? And destruction
Mm.
energy is very similar to fear, is very similar to like, like states of being where you're stressed or anxious. It's like all that same kind of feeling. So to do the opposite of that is actually to create.
I love that. That's really a good point. And this is a good segue into your coloring book, really, because, well, I wanted to say two things. One thing I love about art, and I mean, it depends what kind of art you're looking at, but I love the kind of art, like my art that I do, it's pretty real. Like you look at it and you see what it is. But there's other kinds of art, and even like the art that you do, where people can see it and they're gonna see different pieces of it, or they're gonna pull out different meaning of it. I mean, even in like music or like even like music videos, sometimes I'll watch a music video and I'll be like, that is a piece of art because depending on who you are looking at that, like I could see so many different interpretations of that same thing, regardless of what the artist's intent was. So many other meanings just equally as valid could come out of that because that's what art is, I think. I feel like.
And
Um,
it is, it's totally like the saying of like art, what is it? Art is up to the observer. No, the what is the
what is the saying?
what is the saying?
I don't know. Maybe
Not
it'll
beauty is of the beholder, whatever. There's something else that's like
I love the quote, which I post on my Facebook regularly, is learn the rules like a pro so you can break them like an artist. I think that's Pablo Picasso.
I
It's like
love
my
that.
favorite. I love I love it.
Well,
And I feel like that also applies to horses and like the art of working with horses. Um, the
totally.
like you got to learn like some basics, but then you can, let it flow and do what comes and feels right. But okay, sorry, I jump around a lot in these podcasts, but I wanted to go back to you stopped doing the portraits, and then
Mhm.
somewhere along the line, you put out this email, and I'm on your email list, and you're like, well, I might start doing some portraits, but I also have another project coming, so stay tuned, hint, hint. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna stay tuned. Let's see what she's got coming. And then you put out
Yeah.
this like, hey, you could do a portrait, or you could opt to be do a like I'll do a portrait, but it's going to be a part of this collective coloring book. And I was like, oh yeah, sign me up. Like that, like it was so funny. I didn't even have to like think twice about it. I was like, oh, I'm definitely doing that. And when I decided to do it, I really wasn't even seeing the whole big picture of this whole collaborative effort of how cool it is, first of all, and like how just even how that helps connect. Like in the call that you had after the book, I didn't get to join live, but was it Mariana or somebody said about all the stars lighting up? And I was like, that was such a beautiful analogy of like, wow, that is so true that finding all these people in different parts of the universe world that we're in that all are sharing this kind of same mindset and the same mission, so to speak, connecting and the stars lighting up. Oh, it just, yeah, I actually just cried in that. What I can't remember, it was like your unveiling of the book, and I, like I said, didn't watch it live, but I was just like crying, and I mean like not just like crying like, oh, this is sweet. Like, no, I was like crying. I'm like, oh my God, like what is wrong with me? Like, why do I feel so much just looking at, like, I'm getting teary-eyed just talking about it. Like, why do I feel so much watching this creation be unveiled? And I think that it was so much more than I even realized I was signing up for when, and this is another thing that I do. I just like act on instinct and then find out later what else is involved. So I didn't really realize I was gonna have to write something. And then you send us this in-depth questionnaire. We're supposed to fill it out, and I'm like, whoa, she's got a lot of questions. Okay. So then I'm like, so I kept putting it off, and then you're like, oh, it's okay. You can take a little bit more time because I'm thinking I need to be in a really good headspace so I can give some good answer. Kind of like the same thing. I need to get into flow. So then I finally get the time to answer the questions and I want to really put a lot of thought into it. And then this is what really cracks me up is then later when the book was out and then you posted something on Instagram with my name on it. And it wasn't what was actually published in the book, but it was just to promote the book. And I was like, that sounds great. But I don't think that was what I wrote. I was thinking I was thinking that you must have gotten mine mixed up with somebody else's, and you're like, no, I took it right off your intake form.
That's when you know you're in flow.
And
You
I
don't
was
even know
like,
it sounds like you.
I looked back at it, I'm like, I did write that. Wow. And then I was sharing the story with Mariana because I've been in a mentorship with her for like 9 months, and I'm still kind of man, I'm really like teary-eyed. Still following, like, so I'm still kind of in her group. And she was like, wow, you channeled your, you channeled your, whatever, my intake form.
I
But
love
that
it.
was so special. Sorry, I've been talking a lot. Do you have anything you want to say about
No.
the book and the project? And,
I loved hearing this from your point of
you're
view
like,
because it really is special to hear that like it moved you so much and that it feels so as special as it feels to me, who obviously when it's your own idea, you're like, this is a great idea. Like, okay.
yeah,
And then, you get on this roll with like, this is a great idea. And sometimes people don't see the same vision as you. But the
yeah,
fact that I put out a few emails, maybe a couple posts, a handful of stories, I don't know. I didn't put any effort into the marketing of calling those people in, and it was filled
interesting.
like very quickly. And
Wow.
although I thought I would have more, the universe, thank you, universe, only gave me exactly what I could handle. And so when I thought I could hold 50, I could not in that time because I didn't factor in time. I didn't factor in time, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. That
So
thing. That
I
elusive thing called time.
totally. So, and yeah, so basically everyone that was meant to be in it came in very, very swiftly. It was so clean. It was
Wow.
unbelievable. Everybody just said, everyone that came in was like, it was just an instant yes, and I have to be a part of it. I don't even know really what this is. And
Yeah.
so what's
Yeah.
so cool is that I would say majority of the people I have worked with in some capacity. So they'd already, we've already maybe worked on a project or a brand or a portrait at some point or another. There were a handful that I don't know. Now I do. But for the most part, it was easy because, people have been following along, been in my circle for a while now. So it's like, that trust is there and it's a yes. But it was just so incredible to me to think that I know all these different people. I've worked with so many people in this holistic, alternative, spiritual, conscious, whatever we want to call it, horse paradigm.
Yeah.
And I want them to know each other. And so, just as you're saying, it's like these connections are beyond just, oh, we're all in a book together. I want it to be real. I want it to be like, oh, you actually feel like you have people in different places like I do. Like, that's how I feel. Like, I feel like
Yeah.
I could go anywhere and I could find somebody who I have probably worked with or talked to, and I feel like I can connect with them and like genuinely connect with them. So, this really led me, for anybody that knows human design a little bit,
Mm.
I am a manifesting generator,
Me
but
too.
I'm, and that's why I can just go all the time and
Yep.
always pivoting and always doing something new and, got that energy. But I'm also a 2/4. So the two
Mm.
line is the natural, is the one that kind of like the hermit as well. So like that's my artist self. That's my like the skills that I have acquired over the years that just I kind of just fell into. It's the part of me that needs to completely be away and offline from people, but then like the 4 line is totally opposite. It's the connector. It's the one that has a
Oh.
wide range of community and their sole purpose is to like connect other people with other people. So I actually am literally living out my blueprint in that sense, where I do the thing that comes the most natural to me and then turn around and say, hello, community. Now we all benefit from this and we all know each other. So,
I was gonna say this leading into why when you were talking about why I thought it would be a good segue when you're talking about why we all need art is because then you've created this coloring book club.
yes.
Which I did you know that like is that something that just kind of came after you created the coloring book?
I can't even tell you. Okay, when you listen to your business as an entity, as something that has a higher intelligence than you. That's how I kind of view my businesses these days because I can't ever know what's next. I'm just like I'm
Yeah.
listening, I'm in tune, and when I get intuitive nudges, I write them down, and if I'm not supposed to act on them yet, they just sit in the notebook. I had a coloring club written down in December, January of last year. And I was like, this is the most brilliant idea. And I had all these ideas around it. And I was like, but it's not time. And
Mm.
I closed the book and I was like, that's okay. I can't do this right now. I'm in branding and websites and like that's my focus right now. So, like, yeah, while it sounds fun, it doesn't feel like the thing I need to do now. So instead, I told myself that if I could dedicate once a month doing one free coloring page for
Mm.
my mailing list. And if in a year's time I still liked doing it and I could commit to it, then I could maybe think about starting a coloring club. But I still didn't have a full form of it. It was just that seed of an idea. But I did run because this idea of having equine inspired zodiac sign coloring pages has been a thing for me for years. Like I've always wanted to create it. I created two like 3 years ago and then never kept going with it. So it's always been a project. I was like, one day
Yeah.
I'll do it. So then that led me to, as you were saying, like I actually really enjoyed talking about this process because I think it's interesting for people to hear when you're listening to the nudges, right? It's like these things I mean, I did a hard pivot if anybody was watching from the outside, but from internally, I truly feel like it was not a pivot, but like a realignment.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it was like a coming back home, a return. So it was actually a call with Mariana that um she what was it? I did a call with her like 6 months before that, and so it was 6 months later. It was in July, and it was the whole talk about like lighting up the stars with connections, right? Okay, so this is kind of like the talk about that. So all of a sudden, like that in that exact same week was when I got this idea for the coloring, or no, for the next level portraits. I wanted to do the whole self portraits again.
Oh,
And
okay.
so I was like, oh, this is it. I want to do these again. I feel inspired. I'm ready. And as soon as I launched that, that's when the coloring book project came in. And I was like,
Okay.
whoa, I was not expecting this. Like, so
Yeah.
that's why it was back to back like that. That's why it was like next
I
level
love
portraits
it
are here.
though.
And then wait, something else is coming because I'm
You're figuring
so,
it out, you're
yeah.
processing it.
I'm like, I'm here with it, and it's saying right now, like all this is
Yeah.
happening all at once. So it again, universal alignments and all. Thank you. Thank you for me truly trusting my business at this point because
Yeah.
I knew by October I would not be doing branding and websites anymore. Just intuitively. I didn't consciously know
Interesting.
it, but I knew it.
Interesting.
So I didn't book anything for after August.
Oh, wow.
And I went to the States for a month to visit friends and family and do some other um, adventures. And I knew that when I came back in October, I would have to be doing something different, but I didn't know what it was. So
And then it
here we
was the
are.
coloring book.
Yeah. And it made
Yeah.
space for it. So it's
Yeah.
so important to listen to your intuition in this way because, I mean, in whatever regard, in your life, if you don't have a business, but we are being guided divinely if you're
Yes.
willing to listen, if you're open to it, if you're willing to risk it as well. It was a big risk going from like very stable income, like throughout the entire year, more than I'd ever had because I was doing big projects like this, to saying, I'm not taking anything on and I'm diving into the void mystery, you know?
Yeah.
So while people might think on the outside that I don't know. Maybe it does sound crazy, but it's really just that deep knowing. It's that deep listening of just like trust in the process.
Well, and
Totally.
I
Yes.
loved too what you said about like you have ideas and you're like, okay, but it's not time yet. Because I feel like I've done that too a lot. And then sometimes I start to question myself, like, am I ever gonna do that? Like, no, I am, but it's not time yet. And
Mhm.
then when the time is right, it'll flow. It'll flow when the time is right, right? And
Totally.
it won't feel difficult. Yeah, that's actually one thing I was in that last podcast I listened to that you were talking about the book that you were writing and that you had written all the poetry or whatever you wrote sitting by the river or something. So you're like that part was easy because that all you have that part. Now you just have to do the drawings.
Well,
Um,
actually, with that, this is an important factor, I think, that like
uh-huh.
this might be relatable for other people as well, is that yes, this is for the Dear Questions illustrated book, by the way. So
Okay.
I did write the poetry in again 2020 when I was in the process of like truly coming apart from my horsemanship journey, right? And so this was me rebuilding, this was me relearning, and it was very easy for me to create something from that standpoint because I was in it. And however, it was everything else around it. It wasn't even the drawings. It was I had to have confidence that I could share something like that. I had to have
Mm-hmm.
confidence in my standpoint. I had to
Mm-hmm.
embody what it was that I was even saying. And I had to know that with zero doubts that in my body, I would be fine if somebody questioned me. Because at that time I wasn't. I was
Mm-hmm.
still so in the murky, like, I just don't know anything anymore. Like, everything I thought I knew just completely shattered, you know? And
Yeah.
I'm in the rebuilding and the relearning phase. And so, it was like that messy point where I couldn't create something and share it in that way because I wasn't ready to live it fully.
Mm-hmm.
And so once I caught up, once my body caught up as well, like once I knew that no matter what who I talked to, I could be completely grounded and talk about the viewpoints that I had about how we work with horses or how I feel in that moment. Not even that like it's a hard, this is how I always have to feel, this is the only right way, but that like I have convincing, um, not even convincing. I just know I have confidence in my own opinion.
Yeah. Like you have a standpoint that you can back up or stand, just
Exactly.
internally, like confidence
So,
and
yeah, so then, but I feel like that happens, it can go either way as well. It's like we share
Mhm.
things before we're ready, and then it gets overwhelming when people respond or react, and then we
Yeah.
don't know how to hold that, and then we either collapse or
Yeah.
defend or go into some reactionary um, emotion. And
Mhm.
so it's really important to be able to be embodied in what you're sharing before you do it because
Yeah. Embodied, that's the word. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the same thing even with this podcast. When I first started it, I was a little bit nervous because my whole background growing up wouldn't support believing in animal communication or talking about it. And it took a lot for me just to get the confidence to be able to talk about it regardless of what anybody might think about it.
Hmm. Yeah.
But the other thing I wanted to mention that you had touched on in that other interview was that you said that the art, I just took a couple notes here, that the art was a gentle way to share the ideas, these new ideas without confronting other people's ideas, but rather being a bridge, like bridging the gap with some sort of feeling. And that really stood out to me because that was really beautiful, I think. Way to describe kind of the essence behind it, or, behind all the things that you do, really.
I'm not a very confrontational person. Let's just say that. So never has it been my nature to, well, one, like stand up for myself, but two, like, I wouldn't normally have any confrontation. I will be more passive than the average person. I will, like I was just always very easygoing, but then that led to like a people pleasing, obviously.
Yeah.
But there's definitely not great qualities about that. However, but it does lead me to this very natural way of wanting to give people space to have their own opinion. So when you give somebody a piece of art, when they lay their own eyes on a piece of art and they get to feel what they want to feel, that's their own experience. And
Hmm.
it is completely up to them how they want to experience that. And I'm not trying to tell anybody any one way or any one thing. And I think that that's why art and that's why poetry and that's why stories are so important because they're our own personal, whether it's journeys, whether whatever, it's like our own makeup into this art form that somebody else can read, maybe see themselves in, maybe have a feeling about. But it's
Hmm.
still ultimately up to them how they respond or don't to it.
Or how they interpret it. Yeah,
Totally.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
so I think that now, again, now more than ever, we need more art because we need more thinkers. We need more feelers. We need more people who are willing to look at something and have their own opinion and not be just like, taken over by somebody else's opinion. This is the only way we should think. Or you read somebody's, I don't know, Instagram post and it tells you that this is the way or that this is the way to think about something particularly. It's like, no, we need to have a society of people who are their own people, who
Yeah, like
are willing to
independent
have their own
thinkers.
opinions, you
Yeah,
know?
not all cookie cutter. We all have to think the same thing, for sure.
And and I think that is, what did you say earlier? Like breaking the rules like an artist.
Oh, learn the rules like a pro so you can break them like an artist.
I
Pablo.
feel like that could. be very, yeah, I feel like I can interpret that now in this slightly different way of like we can play by the cultural rules, but knowing how to break them like an artist is different than just rebelling and breaking rules.
Yeah.
It's like
And art makes you think. I mean, I think
it
that's
makes
the
you
whole point of art is it's to make you think.
make you think, make you feel, and like make you want to
Yeah.
do something maybe. Like
Yeah, you're right.
I
Think and feel too. People don't
huge.
feel. People aren't in touch with their body. Like that whole 8 months, 9 months that I spent with Mariana, I mean, the first half of it was me just freaking learning how to be and like be in the present moment. Like, how crazy is it that it is that hard to just quiet our minds enough to be and like feel the air on your cheek or see something that you're looking at with like a crisp detail that you just didn't really notice before. I mean, those were the kind of things that I was, embracing on that journey with her. And I think in our world is just so fast paced, and you're always like behind, and you always need to do the next thing to, keep yourself relevant or whatever, that we lose track of just being, experiencing.
And that's such a good point about like, you know, you coming into more being is literally being present. And when we're
Yeah.
more present, it's like all of a sudden the mundane becomes magical. Things that were once seemingly boring or that just went by you and you didn't even notice are now like these glimmering moments that you can actually just be like, wow, wow, the world is pretty insanely beautiful. Like, or that I'm
Yeah.
feeling a certain way today, or that the light, the way the light is hitting the hill, like earlier, this beautiful gold orange light, the winter glowing, like orangey pink light was just like streamlining across the hills. And it was just so gorgeous. I like literally ran outside and just like I didn't even have a coat on and I was just like standing there for ages, like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. Like when you can see the world for the magic that it holds, when you can be enchanted by the world around you, just everything seems to be a little lighter, you know? Like
Yeah.
everything feels a little bit more okay when you realize that, like, I mean, obviously, there are so many people in very dire situations and real situations in the world. That's not what I'm saying, but like, you are also allowed to be in the present moment that you are in.
Yeah.
You don't have to suffer because somebody else is suffering.
Right. So
And
true.
and I think that coming back to why art and especially coloring is super, super great for your nervous system and for your life is because it brings you into flow, into presence, into mindfulness, whatever it is that you want to call it or that you are able to get to, because not everybody can get into flow. That is
Mhm.
something that I realize now does take a little time, but it's not unattainable. It's something
Yeah.
that you really do have to just let go. And so that is why I truly believe that coloring pages are so perfect for this because people get terrified of blank pages,
Yeah. And you don't have
right?
to feel like you don't have to create the drawing, but you can still experience that flow state by that's why what you're doing is really so brilliant, because now you've created a space for people to come get into art. Even if it's not something they drew, they can create the colors and create the rest of it, right? And really tap into that present moment. I feel like that's your whole point, and it's beautiful.
hmm Well,
And
and especially with the coloring book, it's like not only are you sitting with the frequency of the portrait and the drawing itself, when people are
mm,
sitting with that alone is a
it's
powerful
true.
thing, but then to accompany it with an actual message that somebody can tangibly take away, words that might land differently the next time they read it. Like
So true.
this book is meant to be able to build those bridges because it can be for anybody who just has an affinity towards horses. Oh, I know somebody who likes horses. I'll give them this coloring book. It's a horse coloring book. Like is
Yeah.
very nonchalant on the outside. And so what I'm really seeing in the power of, I mean, I've just always known this about art, but especially coloring books, is that they almost feel very easy. It's a very easy, very um non-aggressive way to deliver
Like not
messages.
intimidating. Like
Yeah,
it's unintimidating. It's inviting. It's
it's
inviting.
inviting. Exactly.
Yeah.
So the other part of this that you've mentioned is that I started this coloring club. And so
Yeah.
it's a part of the whole that I called Creative Magic Collective. And this is me allowing myself to expand further than just like being known for horses, because I'm
Yeah.
more than
Yeah.
horses. And the name just came to me. I didn't even think twice about it. But the coloring club is the free tier where you get coloring pages and a community space to be in. And it is so, so cool what's already happening in there. I realize I created this at this exact time because people want it. I
Yeah.
didn't know people wanted it, but people want it. We want to be off of Instagram. We want to be in creation over consumption, but people might not know where to start. They might need accountability. They want to know that they're surrounded by other people who are doing something similar. And then most of the people also like horses. So it's really cool to
Yeah.
see some of the connections that are happening in there already. And how many people are already like, wow, I've made friends here.
That's
And
cool.
like to have an engaged community that I literally soft launched a handful of weeks ago. I haven't even made a real official Instagram post about it. Like I've not really been talking about it that much. And the fact that I've got so many people in there
Wow.
engaged is a very telling sign that this was something that was needed because most community spaces, I feel like, especially free ones, it's very easy for people to just ignore. And of
Yeah.
course, there's like you're only going to get a small percentage of people that really engage in community
Yeah.
spaces anyways, but
Yeah.
this is already proving to me that people want it because if we all are desiring community, like intimate communities, not just like comments on Instagram or not just like,
Right.
like that's not building a real community. Like this is
Or
a place that you can truly like keep cultivating that, but in a way that you're not seeing outside other things. You're literally seeing people's coloring pages and the thing that they're creating in their life. And that's it. It's
yeah.
only creation. That's it.
Yeah. I love it. And it's not like a container that like, oh, you're doing a course and then it's over and then oh, you don't see those people anymore. Like you can continue to build, yeah, relationship and rapport with these people. I want to read a couple pages from the book, actually.
Yes. Amazing.
Um, and just and oh, how often are you having these coloring meetings?
I actually haven't set up the next one.
Oh, okay.
But last week, no, 2 days ago. Oh my God, time. We two
I
days ago
know.
we had our first official like coloring club meeting
Okay.
and everyone just showed up to the call and literally just colored or drew or created and it was so nice. And then we shared stuff afterwards and we are just like, look at this, like this is what I'm working on. And
Oh,
now
that's so cool.
everybody that was on the call are now even interacting more in the space because they now
Because
have
now they know each
yeah,
other, or
it's
yeah,
it's so cool.
that's
Um
really cool.
okay, no, read that first and then I'll say one last
Okay,
thing.
okay. So yeah, so anyway, the Dear Equestrians Collective Coloring Book, it's a collection of 33 portraits and love letters from the equestrian community. And I wanted to just read your opening page, and then this morning before we started our little call today, I just flipped open and two pages opened up and I'm like, okay, I have to share those two pages because they just sounded perfect. So Nica writes, Dear Equestrian, you have opened these pages for a reason. Whether child or adult, sitting down to color within these pages, you're doing more than creating art. You are entering a vision of an evolving equine world and beyond. Each page is literally drawn from the real story of someone who dared to question the old ways, who chose connection over control, curiosity over compliance, and softness over domination. This book is meant to build bridges from black and white traditions into a world of technicolored possibilities, to help us share the messages and wisdom of the equine collective that there is so much more to the horse-human connection than meets the eye. Slow down, color, reflect, enjoy. And I just love that intro. It's so
Hearing you read
beautiful.
it made me emotional.
Oh, it's so beautiful. Because this is what people do need this. So what is so cool, like I said before, I didn't realize like I would be writing anything. And everybody in the book that the 33 women, and you're one of those 33, correct? You're one of the 33.
Mhm.
We all have a portrait that Nica drew, and everybody wrote their own little love letter. And so when I first flipped this open this morning, I flipped to page 8, which is interesting because I have that connection to 8 because it's like the infinity symbol, and this was just random. And this
And
one's
that's Angela's.
infinite potential. And she writes, Dear Equestrians, I used to believe that you needed to be blessed with a special gift to be able to connect with horses. Now I know that the depth of my connection with horses is equal to the depth of connection I have with myself. More than any other horse, Indy has taught me that sometimes a horse will choose us, not because of who we are when we come together, but because of who we are capable of being. These horses are really here to support our personal growth and evolution. Our challenge is to remember we are worthy of being in partnership with them, even when we feel we are not. Angela and Indy. And that has been like a theme of actually all my podcasts have kind of touched on this theme. So I thought that was so interesting that I flipped to that page. Do you have any comments on
Um,
that one before I switch?
yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's really interesting that you chose Angela's as well because I mean, Angela and I have been working together very consistently over the past year and a half on different projects, especially with like equine businesses. She's like a business mentor and stuff, but we are actually launching the next coloring book together
Oh.
in a few days.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Um, so I'm still obviously like I'm doing all the drawings, but she's going to be guiding some workshops to help people
Oh,
with cultivating like their message for the book. But this one is going to be called The Spirit Herd, and it's going to be in dedication for all the horses that people have lost.
I love that too. I saw that. I want to be a part of it too.
So
That's so
please do.
beautiful. That was
And
so beautiful.
because I know for a fact I'm going to be doing multiple Dear Equestrian books. So the second edition
Mhm.
will come later this year. And because I know that there were already people that were like, oh man, I missed the first one. Like, will you do another one? And I already
Yeah.
have people that are on a list that want to be a part of that next one. But I also want to hold space open for different types of projects. So the Spirit Herd,
Yeah.
while I don't know, gosh, I'm that one's gonna be so emotional and powerful. Um, but while I know I'll do multiple Dear Equestrian ones in the future,
Mm.
I don't think I'll do multiple like Spirit Herd
Spirit.
ones or whatever the other
Yeah.
one might be for that year. So if you are somebody that would like your horse to be honored in this way, in this really intentional book, then you should definitely join. And this is in great timing for the release of this
Yes.
podcast.
Yes. And they can get information like by going to your website, or how do they find out
Yes.
about that project?
Yeah, we can you'll link the website in the notes
Yeah.
anyways. So that will be in
Yeah.
there. And yeah, this is in perfect timing. So I hope that anybody that hears this and feels that nudge that might be your horse calling. Who knows?
Yeah. That's so beautiful. Yeah. So that was the first one I flipped to. And then, ironically, the next one I flipped to was page 18. And this was not on purpose. So now I'm on page 18. And this one is a shorter one. It's titled Choose Connection. And she says, Dear Equestrians, choose connection and love, and magic will happen. Which I think I like that because of the topic, my magical horse and your creative magic. So choose connection and love, and magic will happen. Trust that it might take a little longer, but things will turn out better than you ever could have imagined. Don't think too much, but feel more and stay present. And that was, is it Nellie? Do you know?
Y yeah, Nelly. Not exactly sure. Nelly.
Yeah, and then it says Bonsix, Bonita and Gambit. Choose
Mhm.
connection. So that was really beautiful too. And I like that there's different, like some of the letters are longer and some of them are shorter, and you wrote in the beginning of the book you can kind of just flip to whatever one calls you, or like this morning when I just kind of randomly flipped to those two pages, I almost felt like I was using an Oracle deck. And I was like,
I
oh,
mean, that is truly what I imagined for it, is like listen to your intuition and see what portrait is calling you, because there might be a message there for you for that day, you know? And
yeah,
when you're entering into that space with the art, you might see something completely different that you wouldn't have seen on a different day. So
yeah.
I think it's a really cool way to interact with kind of this like idea of an oracle deck. So that might be a hint of things that I have ideas for, by the way.
I know, and the ideas spur more ideas, or
Yeah, exactly.
and then the other cool thing is, so like I know you kind of said we were all the 33 of us are kind of co-authors of this book, right? And so we're all selling the coloring book or gifting the coloring book. And so I had ordered 25 copies of the book. I literally have sold or gifted all of them. Yeah.
Oh my
I
goodness.
mean, like I have one copy for me, and I have one copy for a friend that I haven't seen yet that I'm planning to gift to her. But all the rest I have sold or gifted. And which is kind of cool too, because then people will see it and then more people might want one, right? So I'll have to do another order.
That's the
But
connection piece, isn't it? It's like this
yeah,
is where things multiply, is like just like anything. It's like, okay, so we started as this one group, but then you get to share with your group, who gets to share with their group, who gets to share, and it
yeah.
exponentially gets to grow. Like,
Yeah, but and it was cool because like yeah, it was at
yeah.
Christmas time, and so a lot of people that bought them, directly from me were buying them as Christmas gifts, and or they wanted one from themselves, and then they saw it and they're like, "Ooh, I'm gonna buy a couple extras so I can gift them to so and so or whatever," and so that was kind of cool. Okay, so I want to read one more, and I want to read mine. And I actually did want to ask you because you were saying earlier that you will take things in or pull things out. And I noticed when you did the little time lapse of my drawing, you had a feather in Zena's mane and then you took it out. And I'm just curious, was there a reason why you took it
Mm.
out? Or,
I will never know.
oh, okay. I just thought it was interesting. I was like, oh, the feather's not in there in the final one. But the picture is really cool. And so when I was telling Nika about, I was basically I'm going to make a separate post about this when I have time to really get into my flow. Really, when I was sharing with you, I was talking a lot about the stuff I had just I was still in the mentorship with Mariana, and I had been seeing all these animals in nature. I mean, like, including a bear. Like, I was face to face with a bear. I was in my truck, and the bear was not that far away from me, staring at me. And it was like, whoa. Like that was like a really surreal experience, and it felt very not random. Like, like it felt like there was a reason that I was seeing this bear. And I saw this great blue heron, and I saw a bald eagle that flew like literally like at eye level. And the great blue heron and the bald eagle, I had Ugo out with me. And always we're having magical encounters with the bucks. I call them my magical bucks. But anyway, I had told you about all these different, more than just those animals experiences. And it was so funny because I had kind of, as an artist, a vision in my mind of what the portrait might end up looking like. And it's so funny because your art style is so different than mine. It was not anything that I expected, but I loved it so much. Like, I loved it so much. But then I thought, oh, that's cool because then later I can do my own drawing and it'll be totally different because it's not, we have a different art style and everything. But what I also love about the Ugo and the Xena, it's almost like a yin and a yang. I don't know if you did that on purpose, but I didn't even realize it until one of my students that had bought the book, she colored it in and she s sent me a photo of her colored page. And I was like, then it really stood out to me, the yin and yang effect of my two horses in that circle. It's so beautiful. But anyway, let me read our little love letter, which is really meaningful to me. Dear Equestrians, I hope you know how powerful your thoughts, actions, and words are, and in how important your energy is. Your horse feels your thoughts, interprets your actions, and hears your words through the energy that you bring to each moment. If your energy does not match those thoughts, words, or actions, your horse knows. And how they go about letting you know that they know is where your lessons come into play. Be open enough to hear them and humble enough to do the work needed within yourself so that you can show up in your true authenticity. That's what this journey is all about and where the deep rewards reside. Me, Ugo, and Zena.
Wow, hearing that again is so beautiful.
It's been a theme for me, and I've even written a couple like blog posts about that. So when that came up, it didn't surprise me when that came up, but I think I expounded on it more in how I wrote about it. But that whole authenticity or what's the word? That everything that those all those things need to be aligned for your horse to really trust you. Because if you're saying one thing, but you don't believe it, or you're doing something else and I mean, then they're just like, who are you and what are you doing? And it is, and that is the invitation to us to try to figure out why aren't those things aligning or are we fooling ourselves by thinking we think one thing, but we're not really living it? Or anyway, that's like a whole nother podcast, but
What I love about that is that if you replace horse with life or like the universe or source or God, whatever it might be, it's the same thing. It's like if your actions aren't the same as your thoughts, if you're thinking one thing, you're doing a different thing. It's like if you're not in alignment, then how are you able to co-create with the universe? Like you're going to be pushing against it. You're going to be, it's not going to trust you either.
that's so true. That's so true.
It's so
And
interesting. I've never heard of that, or like never heard it in that way, or like thought about it in that way before. So that was just a funny
no,
way
that's
to.
so true. And I think too, it's an invitation to us to get more clarity. Because sometimes I think when those things don't match, it's because we aren't being clear with our own intentions. Like the whole idea of setting clear intentions was like a new concept to me back when I kind of started my own little healing journey into all this. But like when I, as a horse trainer and as a riding instructor, when I see people having problems with their horses, that's what I see a lot of times is that they are sending mixed messages to their horses, and so the horses are just trying to make sense of like they don't know which part you really mean. You know what I mean? Like what part am I supposed to listen to and what part am I not supposed to listen to? They don't know. So they're just reflecting back to you this kind of jumbled mess. If you're presenting your request as a jumbled mess, they're gonna give you a jumbled mess back. And then that's our invitation to, yeah, to kind of go in and try to quiet things down and try to be so that we can be more clear with what it is that we're actually asking them to do. And I mean, that's layers and layers deep because, of course, our body also needs to be able to cooperate with what our mind wants. And that's a whole nother part of the journey is just getting your body and mind to cooperate. Because sometimes we don't mean for our left leg to be doing XYZ, or we don't even know that our left leg is doing, I mean, that's a whole other layer of it. But yeah, that's like the same concept of just the clarity of. the communication. And that's when I started this journey. I started, gosh, we're talking, there's so many things to talk about, but I started talking to my horses out loud as if they understand me. But what I found is that when I spoke to them out loud, it created clarity in my request, you know, versus me thinking that they're just going to understand my thoughts. And I'm not to say that they can't, because they can, but then you have to have really clear thoughts, right?
And it's hard for us to do that sometimes. So, if
Yeah.
anything, it's for you, right? It's for you to
Yeah.
like point your words as your as your
Yeah.
like I was gonna say sword, but like you know what I mean? Like you
Yeah. Yeah. Your
it's
sword.
yeah.
Funny.
Don't know why. Just
Yeah,
that was
no,
the
that's
image
funny.
that came to mind. But yeah, that's I love that.
I know we've been talking about a lot of things, and I just want to give you an opportunity to if you have any stories that you want to share with the listeners about actual like communication experiences that you may have had with any horses that you've worked with, or if any, like maybe if just one, if any particular experience stands out that might be affirming to people that are on this journey or questioning if animal communication is real, feel free to share that.
There are a few, and it's interesting because it came at a time that I didn't know or believe in it really.
Okay.
So it was like the prem or like the pre-work, if you will.
Yeah.
Um, and it was only like in hindsight that I can see it with so much clarity. But it was with my horse Merlin, who at the time was, I mean, he's the one that changed everything for me, right? So like it made me question everything I was doing. But I was working at a traditional guest ranch. So I was taking people
Mm.
out on trails, like all the horses had their job to do, though these horses were very like very well kept, very honestly, it was very good. Like it wasn't just like dead eyes and nose to tail, you know, like they were
Yeah.
very much so in their bodies. Um, but anyway, so I was working with Merlin and it was probably about a year and a half in already, and we hadn't gotten very far. He kind of terrified me, but I wouldn't admit that, you know, because I had to do my job
Right.
um and so obviously he read that, and him being a very intensely sensitive horse and here to change me, literally, that was part of our, I think our soul contract was that like he sent me on this path, right? And so there was a time that um well, there's a few times, but one of the times was that I was leading a ride with like seven other people on it, and he was in the front with me. And I hadn't taken him out on many lead rides yet. Like I didn't trust him fully all the way yet, but we'd been working really well together. And I was like, this is it. I've got another guide with me on this ride. Like, you know, this will be fine. And we ended up hitting a patch of ground bees, and we were on the edge of a cliff with nowhere to go.
Oh gosh.
So I couldn't turn everybody around. There was not enough space for us to turn around like we normally would. So I had to get everybody through it, which
Oh
was
gosh.
horrendous. And I'd never cantered on him before. Like we hadn't done it. And we were flying down this hill. And I like took everything in me to just like hold my energy together. And I like literally said to him through my mind, obviously, because I'm like yelling at everybody to keep calm. But in my mind, I just like gave him full trust. Like my body gave him trust, my mind gave him trust. And I said, you need to keep us safe. Like it's your job to keep us safe because I have to keep these people safe right now. And I didn't trust him that way. So for me to like give that fully over to him, it was just it had to be that way. You know, like I had no other choice. I was like,
Yeah.
you're either gonna get us through this or you're gonna buck me off and we're gonna go flying and then it's gonna be even worse. You know, like that was kind of where we are at in our relationship.
Yeah.
And he was just perfect. Like he literally like loped up the hill, stood still, stood like I just tied him to a thin branch, you know, like I was just like, you need to stay here. And usually he's very antsy and very up, and like anything could set him off at any time. That was his MO. And I was just like, you just need to be calm and just chill. And I need to get this person who has broken ribs up to somewhere else. Like, yeah, it was a whole thing. So it was just one of those moments that I'll never forget, handing over that kind of trust and then just being like, he heard that or he felt that. But I didn't understand how deep it went at the time.
Mhm.
But I knew it
Mhm.
happened because everything changed after that. Like everything in me said I could trust him now because it had
Really?
happened. And it like, and from then on, I was like, oh, he's really listening. Oh, it's me. Oh. And
Yeah.
and then just one other piece of this, and this is something I wrote about in like my story in the Unlocking the Wisdom of Horses
Mm.
book, was that the day I fell off, like he bucked me off very hard and I landed on my face. And I'm so grateful that I didn't break anything and that I didn't, literally nothing happened besides my nose ring ripped out. That was
Oh,
it.
wow.
Yeah, it was not nice, but could have been
Yeah.
worse. Um, but I had no idea why. He just, it was just in an instant, I got on and I was shot off like a cannon.
Like this was after that other
Yeah,
experience?
yeah, like a
Oh,
couple
okay.
months after. And
Mm.
we'd been working so well together. Like
Yeah.
I was like, we're on, we're doing it. And anyways, I was very rattled, maybe mild concussion, I don't know. But I was laying in bed later that day because I'd had a headache. Probably shouldn't have been laying in bed, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
I had this very clear image in my mind that under his saddle pad were burrs, like those little like Velcro-y kind of
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
And I was like, why would I even think that? Like, what? So it was like this flash image of like like a bunch of burrs under his saddle pad. And so when I sat down, it pushed into his back. And I texted a coworker and I asked her if she could go check that. And she found them, that they were actually on his saddle pad. And
Wow.
and I don't know how they got there. Like I'd never, like obviously the horses were in large fields. We would definitely take burrs out of their manes before, but like
Yeah. But
I
like
don't
it
know how
just
it
got
got.
overlooked or it got somehow
Yeah. And I just
like
put
he
it
was
on, I
like
guess.
sending you a message like, "Hey, I'm sorry, but this is what
Yeah,
happened."
exactly. And so that was my first true experience of like receiving a download in that way.
That's so cool
But
though.
but having that instant validation of it, like because
Yeah.
I probably had them before, but not any validation that they were real.
And
And so
you had someone go check it and like, oh yeah, like sure enough, that was the case. Wow.
totally. And so that, and I'd already been in like, I mean, I'd been in an energy work like peripheral for like 7 years already. It was like out here, I had no idea what it was still, but I was interested. And so, like, there was a part of me that had been longing to know about these different things, but just didn't know who to ask, who to talk to. And it was after that that I I was very rattled. I didn't have a chance to get back on him or work with him in any capacity before I left for the winter for Central America.
Mm,
And so this
mm.
is how I see my husband. This is how we like, because we couldn't
Okay.
work in the same country, that we would work in our own countries and then like come together and travel, or he'd come stay at that
Mm.
ranch with me or whatever. And so we met in Central America and we traveled for 4 months. And it was on that journey that I started like kind of peeling back the layers a little bit. And I started seeing that, like, oh, maybe how I've been thinking about things isn't everything. Or no, actually, I'm sorry, it wasn't Central America, it was Europe because I was in
Mm.
Switzerland. Sorry. I know that sounded
One of
very
those
casual.
exotic locations.
But the reason was because I was drawn to stay at a workaway with a woman in Switzerland who did positive reinforcement with her horses, and I didn't even know what that meant, and I had
Okay.
no concept, but I saw it and it grabbed me, and I said, "Yes, I want to go there." And I had no idea why. And the first day she handed me a Karen Pryor like clicker training book, and she was like, "Start here." And that 2 weeks just completely shattered what I believed in. And I was like, oh my God. So I went back to this ranch, this very traditional place of well, natural horsemanship, I would say.
Yeah. Okay.
And and here I was trying to bring in a clicker for clicker training. And I was like, maybe that's what I need to do with Merlin so that way I can feel confident with him again and blah, blah, blah. And I was just completely shut down. They were like, what are you doing? Like, what even is this? Like it was just total. And so, like, I was like doing like energy work and like practicing stuff. Like, he stayed like in the pasture connected to our cabin. So I could actually like peek out the door if I wanted to, or like our bedroom window was like in his
Mm-hmm.
stall. That
Okay.
he wasn't always, but it was like we were right there. So I would just like go outside and I would like practice some energy work when nobody was watching. Like, and yeah, and then I left and I mean, that was a whole story in itself. And that was in what, 2019? So
Okay.
like I'd already been like slowly growing to it at this point. And then it was like 2019 that like just everything completely just like I was just sent on a completely new direction. And yeah, and here we are today.
Wow. So did you ever ride him again after that, or was that kind of?
But that's definitely a part of the story and how I also ended up leaving the place.
Mm, gotcha.
But it was the most beautiful ride and he took care of me and it was just like the most amazing thing after like 7 months and like being terrified and he just like yeah, it was amazing. Like I could not believe that I was on the same horse.
Wow.
And
All the time that you've spent doing the energy work and the
and just like coming into myself, like understanding what
yeah,
energy was. Like I didn't know what my
yeah.
feelings were. I didn't know what emotions were. I
Mhm.
was I was so anxious. It was just not a good time in my life. And so obviously it was being portrayed by him,
Got
mirrored back to
it.
me, if you will. So the
I
more that I
see.
was like starting to like come into my own, it was yeah, it was a really interesting journey because then I thought I would never see him again.
Mm,
And because I left that ranch and that was their horse. And 3 years later, as I was finishing my, as I was we were trying to publish the Unlocking the Wisdom of Horses book,
yeah.
a couple hiccups had happened and it kind of kept getting pushed back a little bit. And then I got a call from a woman who ended up with him. And she asked me if I could take him because
What?
she needed to get rid of him ASAP. And he'd already been through two other people in that short time.
Wow.
And I was in Scotland and I was like, you're in North Carolina. How will I do this? Who will like, so I have a wonderful, wonderful friend who has a sanctuary up in Wisconsin and I shipped him up there and he lives
Wow.
there today.
So look at that though, that you helped facilitate his best interest,
Yeah.
like that's I do love when, I mean, I know that it's too bad you couldn't have him with you, but like even when we get to play a role in, I have another horse that has come back to me a few times, and yeah, I feel like I'm his protector or something. You know what I mean? Like it's interesting. Um,
Hmm.
but that's a cool story. Thank you for sharing that.
Thanks for
Well,
listening.
I know we've chatted about a lot of things and we could probably keep chatting for another hour, but I want to ask you the question I always ask everyone at the end. What advice do you have for our listeners, of something that they could do or incorporate into their activities to create a more magical connection with their own horses?
A few things come to mind,
Okay.
but the obvious one to me is just being,
Okay.
going out and being and just really observing the movements, the micro movements, the energy, how you're feeling in your body, how the space between you feels, like all the little things, all the things that happen without happening. It's like
Hmm.
there's always so much happening when we're in a space with horses, and yet an observer would never know.
So true. Yeah.
So really observing that, really being present with that is definitely one. And then another one is being creative with horses, like literally bringing your art out into the field
Mm.
or bringing, I don't know, movement,
Mhm.
music, like
Mhm.
bringing art into a space with horses. It just takes you to a different plane of existence. It's like being present and then like being present but in flow, but in a
Yeah.
creative act is like completely different. And I just think that if we can experience that, I don't know, I would want to be in that all the time.
And the horses love it too. Funny that you mentioned that because I don't know why I don't think about doing this, but I, with Xena just a couple nights ago, turned on some music and literally was like I was lunging her, but it changed my whole energy and my whole interaction to be less mechanical, and it got more artsy. Like it was almost like even though she was on the lunge line, it became more of a dance or like a creation with the energy, and she loved it. Like I could tell she really loved it. So I concur. It's a good reminder to
I
um
love that.
to do some things that are a little out of your normal just to create that flow.
Hmm.
So, yay. Well, thank you so much. I will so your website is it nicadrawsnature.com
.com.
or
Hmm.
okay, nicadrawsnature.com, and I will also add all her socials and all of that in the show notes. And I really appreciate you chatting with me today. It's been a beautiful conversation. It's one of those conversations that like don't even realize how much time has passed. And
Totally.
yeah, it's like, wow, we've been talking for a while, but we can do it again at some other point, and I'm sure we'll have just as much to talk about. So thank you, Nica. Thank you for coming, and I really appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
What a kindred spirit. I love Nica so much. She's such a genuine, pure soul, and I adore connecting with other artists. And if I haven't mentioned it, I absolutely love hosting this podcast. I mean, these guests that I have all been so incredible in their own unique ways. If you're just starting to listen, be sure to go back and listen to our previous episodes. Make sure you check out Nica's upcoming project, The Spirit Herd, her new coloring book project, and check out her website, www.nicadrawsnature.com. And yeah, if you are enjoying these podcasts, we would absolutely love to invite you to join our Patreon community with other like-minded souls who are all interested in creating magical connections and experiences with horses. Head on over to www.patreon.com/mymagicalhorse, and you can join us as a free fan or as a Phoenix Rising tier member. And if you are a paid tier member of the Patreon, you actually get exclusive video of all these episodes. I release each podcast episode 2 weeks prior to its public release, but it's the video version of it. So if you want to kind of get a backstage pass to see what it looks like before all the finishing touches and editing go on to the podcast and see these people that you're listening to, we would love to have you as a member. There's going to be some incredible things happening in this community. It's organically growing, and we would just love to have you along for the journey with us. So head on over to www.patreon.com/mymagicalhorse, and we just can't wait to see you there. So until next time, namaste, friends.